The real reason for Drew McIntyre and Bray Wyatt's WWE absences have been revealed. Plus, CM Punk AEW Collision plans, we got them, and an update on a major SmackDown Star's next rivalry. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Two faces conspicuous by their absence on WWE television are Drew McIntyre and Bray Wyatt. The reason behind it seems similar to both, but let's go through it. What's the story with Drew, Andrew?
Well, this comes from Ravy Davey Meltzer on The Observer. He says McIntyre's return is basically more a creative issue regarding what they want, what he wants, and when they agree to it. Regarding the potential of his leaving, the time he has been out of action can be used to freeze and extend his contract if WWE so desires. It should be noted that McIntyre, to the best of our knowledge, has not asked to leave, but they have not agreed to a new deal.
This is something that has rumbled on since after WrestleMania. We saw Drew McIntyre do the wavy goodbye emojis before a Twitter blackout, and creative issues seem to have come to the fore. Drew had an amazing run in 2020 and 2021. The guy who threw the company on his shoulders and carried them through. And since then, the momentum hasn't been there as much.
Yeah.
We are clamoring for a Drew McIntyre heel turn at this point, I think.
Absolutely, and I think that seems like the most obvious way to go with it. However, I wonder if that has been posed to Drew, and perhaps Drew's been like, that's all good and everything, but what after? You know, like what substance do we have if I do this, and what do I do afterwards? Maybe that's I don't know, speculation, a conversation they may have had or something like that. I don't know. It's good to have those plans in place though, isn't it?
So that's Drew McIntyre. What about Bray Wyatt? Now, he's not been listed as an active competitor for WWE for some time now. But what's Dave saying about Wyatt?
He said Wyatt was ill when he disappeared, and they continued to hint at him being there, but the issues with creative talked about at the time were legit. If Bliss comes back with no hints towards Wyatt, then I'd say they've given up on Wyatt coming back anytime soon. Bliss and Wyatt were supposed to be linked when Bliss returned. Bliss, who battled skin cancer, was doing The Masked Singer, has said she's available to return.
So when Alexa Bliss comes back, we'll see whether there's any Bray Wyatt flex or references in what she is doing.
Yeah.
And then that'll sort of determine it from there. It would be a shame if we hear hard reset on Bray Wyatt and undo all that stuff that we did before. I admit that many agree it did get a bit long in the tooth.
Definitely. When we started not really seeing so much in-ring action for him, and bless him, when his first big televised match back was that Mountain Dew Pitch Black match, it was disheartening to say the least. And I'm sure it was disheartening for him as well to have to sort of engage in something like that was heavily involved with, being an advertisement for a brand.
This might sound silly, but I think a big part of the downfall of Bray Wyatt was not having a pay-per-view in December. I know that sounds really peculiar. We know he didn't have a premium live event in December, and then there was a long time between sort of the start of his feud with LA Knight and the Royal Rumble, and there just wasn't enough substance to really stretch it as far as they did. So it kind of became joke-worthy, where we would have like a 90-second appearance by Bray Wyatt doing something nonsensical, and then a bit with LA Knight backstage. And they just, if this had been maybe a 3-week story that would have had a match at a December event, you might have been able to carry that momentum and move Bray onto something else. But because this dragged out for so long, and the first chance that we got to see Bray in the ring was at the back end of January, and it was what it was, we were less forgiving.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there for sure. It would have been nicer to see him in action a little bit quicker than we actually got to see him in action. I know there was live shows and house shows that he was up against, I believe, Jinder Mahal, but that's not in front of a TV audience though, is it? And that's what we really wanted to see. And as you said, it sort of felt a little bit long in the tooth after a while. We always say trust the process and see what happens, but unfortunately, I don't think there was enough to keep us invested. Bless him. I hope he's all right.
Yeah, obviously we send best wishes because we know that Bray Wyatt initially came away because he wasn't well, and we send nothing but our best. At the end of the day, be well above everything else. But I hope that when Bray does come back, I mean, the creative side of things, we know that Bray was far more involved in this creative process as opposed to before when he wasn't as much.
Yeah.
And maybe you need something in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't need full control, but you don't need all, you don't need no control. You need somewhere in the middle there. We might figure something out.
I agree.
Creative to AEW now. Collision set to debut in June with or without CM Punk. At this point, we don't know. He was obviously heavily involved, according to numerous reports, with the debut of the brand new Saturday Night show. The Observer says the plan at some point was to go to MJF versus Punk, which was to be a world title program built mostly on Collision. So we were going to see CM Punk versus Samoa Joe initially, which is why Joe is featured prominently on that poster, we understand, because we were getting ready for Punk and Joe. And then from there, after a short feud with those two, off we go to MJF and CM Punk, which we build on Saturday nights.
That would have been great. That would have been great for Collision. Absolutely, I feel like that would have been great.
It still might be. Like,
exactly.
Like, it's still not like completely signed off.
No.
This is not all going to be a thing or whatever, But I think, that would be certainly a feature point for Collision, which is set to have a brand split, we understand. So it'll mean that the world title rivalry would move to Saturday nights for a period. Because from what we gather from Fightful Select, whilst there is plans for a split between Dynamite and Collision, the champions will be floating.
Yes. Yeah.
So therefore, MJF popping over to feud with Punk on Saturday nights would be all right for fighting. Now, speaking of AEW, coming up next weekend, it is Double or Nothing. And we've talked briefly in the last week or so about the ticket sales for the event and how it's not doing particularly well. It's disappointing, to be fair. Less than 4,500 tickets sold for Dynamite in Vegas, and then just over 7,300 sold for Double or Nothing at this point. The Observer says people have noted how much more expensive everything is this year, from hotels to flights, plus the feeling that Forbidden Door is the bigger show next month is probably putting people off buying tickets for it. Last year, WWE ran the MGM Grand for Money in the Bank. They downgraded from the Allegiant to the MGM Grand, and they filled that out quite nicely. And I know there'll be people that will draw comparisons there, but the argument being you probably would have had more tickets sold for a stadium event, and it's easier to go from stadium to arena and fill that out than for a show that kind of sits in the middle of lots of different things.
There's big things happening, isn't there? Obviously, as it mentions there, you got Forbidden Door. There's a lot of talk about All In as well. Not necessarily that it feels like Double or Nothing has been pushed to the wayside, but
I think it has.
It's been pushed to the wayside.
I think it has. Let's be honest.
Which is a shame, because they're starting the car's starting to stack up a little bit as well, and it looks pretty good. But
think about it. If during this, we're all going through sort of financial crises around the world as well. Like we're trying to make money stretch a little bit more. Certainly, this isn't an excuse at all. If some of the matches were more compelling, maybe you'd move a bit quicker. But I've noticed this in numerous scale levels of business. They've got 3 major shows that they've been plugging away on for AEW. You've got All In at Wembley, which is currently sitting at about 65,000 tickets sold. Loads of emphasis gone into that. You've got Forbidden Door around the corner with AEW New Japan Stars. That is set to be a spectacle of an event. And you've got Double or Nothing. And when you look at those 3, Double or Nothing is the lesser of the 3. It's not as important. It feels in every sense like a B show. Doesn't matter how much at this point they throw into it. It does feel like a B show in comparison to what they've got planned. So people are kind of making the decision to go, well, if I'm going to buy tickets for one show, I'll either go to Forbidden Door or I'll spend a bit extra and fly out and do Wembley.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's probably why I will be interested to see if anything shifts over the next week. I don't think it will. I think it'll be in ring a really good show.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I think it'll be a really good show. I just don't think it will be the financial success that other AEW shows have been.
Yeah.
For numerous reasons.
Yes.
Let's end on some SmackDown flavoured news. Tonight we have the Blue Brand, and One Star from it could have a big feud in his future.
He certainly could. So this comes from Better Wrestling Experience, and they posted about future plans for AJ Styles and Grayson Waller, who are set to appear together on the Grayson Waller Effect. So whilst they said the segment will be fantastic, it was also hinted at that Styles will move into a feud with Karrion Kross, tweeting, TikTok AJ.
Either that or AJ has just joined the app. AJ Styles at home holding up his cat going, pee for puppers. It's a puppers party. I tried to do that with Pablo and he wasn't having it.
Oh, bless him.
No, but Karrion Kross, TikTok AJ is the message from BWE. Cross and AJ Styles, yeah.
I wouldn't mind it, you know. We had the very short thing between Cross and Shinsuke Nakamura, I think.
And even shorter thing between Cross and Rey Mysterio.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I feel like Cross got his best main roster match. I think Shinsuke got like the best out of Karrion Kross in that match. I thought it was really, like, genuinely really good. Like the best showing I feel like Karrion Kross has had on the main roster. If there's anybody to hopefully help him get to that level again, maybe push it a bit further, AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, Karrion Kross could be coming to Friday nights near you very, very soon. And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, you can check out Cultaholic.com. Keys.
Love you, bye.